Hi everyone. We're going to start using Max to make sounds with MIDI messages. We're just going to focus to begin with on note messages and program change messages, and also use the General MIDI synth to get started. So MIDI as an event-oriented language doesn't know about duration. It knows when you press a key and when you release a key, but it doesn't time what's going on in between. For the convenience of generating notes in Max, we have an object called Makenote. I'll type it in. Takes arguments for a velocity, do 127 max, and duration. So I'll put in 1,000 milliseconds. Then connect it to a note out object, and that's what generates sends. It's what sends note messages on or off to other synthesizers. So left outlet is pitch or the MIDI note number. The right outlet is velocity hooked into the middle inlet of note out. I could specify a MIDI channel for note out, but I don't have to. By default, it's going to be MIDI channel 1. I do want to highlight that this velocity out of Makenote is one of the most common mistakes, not connecting it to note out or connecting it to the wrong inlet of note out. In fact, in take 1 of this video, I made this mistake as I was right after I told about how often this mistake is made. I did it later on in the patcher. So redoing this now, I'm going to type an integer number box or add this to my patch. This integer number box is going to represent pitch. So as long as I type in a valid pitch in here, it will play a note. So I'm going to type in 60 for middle C, and it plays a synthesizer. Most likely for you, if you're just starting, it's the first time you've been in Max making notes, it's going to play a grand piano. And let me explain a little bit. With the lock patch, you can double click on note out, and you can see what port it's going to. A MIDI port is just some MIDI device that can receive up to 16 MIDI channels of information. By default, on the Macintosh, it's going to go to this AU DLS synth, which is a General MIDI synthesizer. On Windows, it's going to go to a GM wavetable synthesizer. It's the default choice. If you've been doing something in Max and haven't shut it down and have sent program changes before, the synthesizer remembers that. And so because I made a mistake in the first video, that's what I'm dealing with now. So what if I want to change the sound? I can add, unlock the patch, add a program out. Program out is device that sends program changes, patch changes, if you will, to a synthesizer or to a MIDI device. And that's really just represents the memory locations for the different sounds that are stored in the synthesizer. In a general MIDI synthesizer, those sounds are the same types of sounds are stored at the same locations. That doesn't have to happen in MIDI, but there was a general agreement in MIDI 2.0 to create a general MIDI synthesizer so that you could do mock-ups and send them between people without having to have the same devices. It doesn't specify anything about the sound quality, but you have to have a grand piano in memory location 1, and 81 is lead synth. So if I go up here, lock the patch, memory locations go from 1 to 128. So I'm going to type a 1. Now if I repeat my note, it's a piano sound. If I go back here, type 81, hit enter, go back and play, back to the synth sound. Now this Makenote keeps track. Because of this duration, it keeps track of when it needs to send a note out for you. There's a clock running in Max. So it can be holding a note and receive another note on message and play if the synthesizer can play more than one note at a time. General MIDI synthesizers can play up to 32 notes at a time. So I can use my arrow key and trigger or enter several numbers, like just go stepping up and down through the numbers, and that way I can get more pitches at once. They all shut out a second after I start them. Okay, it's a simple General MIDI synthesis, and you can get the instrument program locations on MIDI.org. Get a little more about what this means to do. So one thing that's special about General MIDI is that it reserves MIDI channel 10 for drum channel, for having a full-blown drum kit with extended percussion. So if I unlock, I can go over here, add another make note, give it velocity, and give it a shorter duration. Drum sounds are going to decay anyway. Hook up a note out, but this time I'm going to add the argument 10 for MIDI channel 10. Here's where I made the mistake last time. Pitch, velocity. I always recommend doing this in this order. Either start with the note out and add the make note, or the make note and the note out before you hook anything else to make note. The other inlets, which I didn't go over, I can change the duration with incoming data. I can change the velocity with incoming data. For now, I'm just going to go simple. So I have this. It's going to play drum sounds. And I know for a fact that note number 36 plays a bass drum. So I'm going to insert a message, type in 36, because this is going to be something that I don't change. Lock the patch, and when I click on the message, I should hear a bass drum sound. And that's what I hear. Pretty sure what is the arrangement of things that I want. 38 is the snare drum. 41 is going to be a high tom. And 43 is going to be a low tom, and I have to look these things up. I don't have them memorized. 49 is going to be a cymbal crash. And 39 will be a hand clap. And so let's hook all these up. They're all going in. The reason I didn't do a number box is because that would let me pick other numbers that aren't the specific drum sounds I want. So if I lock, I have bass drum, snare. Nobody's saying anything about these being high quality drum sounds. High tom, low tom, cymbal, and hand clap. You may have also noticed that things like the snare drum, the toms, are in different parts of the stereo field. So it's kind of meant to sort of mimic the layout of a drum set in stereo. So if I want to build up a little bit of something that I can play, I have a way of doing that, say with the computer keyboard. I'm going to go up here and unlock, add a key in object. And the key in, or just key. Just key. The object is key. And that inputs keystrokes from the computer keyboard. If you do the left outlet, ASCII code of key pressed will be cross-platform. So and as long as I don't have a number box highlighted for input, it's going to report any key that I press. So I'm pressing the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and number 4, and so on. If I highlight, say, this number box and start pressing keys, I'm entering numbers into that make note that's playing the synthesizer. So that's a little thing to just catch while you're doing. No number box can be selected. So I want to use my computer keyboard and the numbers 1 through 6 to trigger these drum sounds, which I can do because I can look for special numbers. So I'm adding an object called select, and then the arguments are whatever you want to look for and select. So I want to get number 1, key 1, which is 49. Its ASCII code is 49. 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54. These inputs are for changing arguments if I want to change a value in the list to look for something else. But what this does is if the input matches 49, a bang message will go out the outlet corresponding to 49. So I can hook up a print. And now hit the key 1, and I get a bang message. So I'm going to change this slightly. I can just hook select directly up to the messages because it's going to send a bang message, and the other feature of bang message is it will tell objects to do what they do with whatever memory or data they have stored. So a message receives a bang, and it's the same as clicking on the message in a locked patch. It's going to output its contents. But so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to add buttons over each of the messages. The letter B. Just cleaning things up a little bit. Hook up each one. Outlet of bang, outlet of the button into the left inlet of the message. Now, the corresponding outlet of select. So if it matches 49, it's going to play the bass drum. 50, it's going to play the snare. 51, the high tom, the low tom, the cymbal, and the clap. And there's always one extra inlet more than your list, because if it doesn't match, the input comes in, doesn't match any of these values, it'll be output unchanged. So have this all together, and this is corresponding to keys on my keyboard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Can lock the patch, and now high tom, and you can see them each light up when I'm playing the key. They're being triggered. So, oops. And I can make a little simple drum machine. This is very rudimentary, but I could, if I wanted, just very similar design a 808, which lays out its buttons representing drum sounds just in a row at the bottom of the device, and you can assign them as they go. But for this is good for me now. When I go through, I can hook up one more thing, which is to say, so if I were to type something that's not here, like say I hit the key K, which is 107, it passes through. I see it over here in my Mac's console. But if I'm doing the 1, which in this case, the number box is highlighted. So if I hit key 1, which is 49, can go through. All right. So it's just a simple approach to triggering some notes and a few more objects to learn as we go through. We're going to take off with MIDI, Makenote, and doing different things with General MIDI next week. Bye.